What is this thing called modern wheat? Well, modern wheat is very different from traditional strains of wheat. But first, let me make clear that this does not mean that traditional strains of wheat are not without their problem for humans who consume it. So that's another conversation for another day. But what's different about modern wheat compared to traditional strains? Well, due to the work of agricultural scientists and agribusiness, numerous changes have been introduced into the wheat plant. Now, I should mention that these changes were largely introduced prior to the age of genetic modification. But it does not mean that the methods used were benign. For instance, there's a method called chemical mutagenesis. You take a toxic compound to purposefully induce numerous mutations in the plant. That's how many of the changes were introduced into the wheat plant, as well as hybridization and mating experiments, etc. But modern wheat looks different. You may recall that traditional strains of wheat stand about 4.5 to 5 feet tall. Modern high-yield semi-dwarf wheat, that's what it's called, stands about 18 inches tall, about knee-high. And it has a thick stalk, large seed head, and very large seeds. So these changes were introduced for the sake of increasing yield per acre. And it works. It increased yield per acre by about 4-fold, 5-fold, 6-fold, 8-fold. So it benefits the farmer. But these changes were all introduced without asking any questions about the implications for humans who consume it. So what kinds of changes have been introduced? This is just a sampling of the changes, many more changes. Modern wheat has been selected to be enriched with a protein called wheat germ agglutinin. It sounds like gluten, but it's unrelated. Wheat germ agglutinin. It's called agglutinin because when it contacts blood, it causes clotting or agglutination, wheat germ agglutinin, okay? When you ingest it, it's indigestible by humans. So it goes in intact, comes out in the toilet intact, but as it courses through the human gastrointestinal tract, it is highly toxic. It's directly toxic to the intestinal lining. It causes changes that resemble celiac disease. It's not celiac disease, but it looks a lot like celiac disease, the toxic effect. It also blocks hormones, such as cholecystokinin. Cholecystokinin is a hormone responsible for digestion, for causing your gallbladder to release its bile, causing your pancreas to release pancreatic enzymes. Well, cholecystokinin blocks those effects, and so you get indigestion, you get bloating, you get changes in bowel flora. So wheat germ agglutinin, highly toxic to the human gastrointestinal tract, and it's been enriched in modern wheat because it's also a pest-resistant compound. And farmers like it because it keeps insects and fungi away from their plant. But they've also made it more toxic to humans. For similar reasons, there's something else called phytates in grains. These are also pest-resistant compounds, but when humans ingest phytates, it binds all positively charged minerals, like calcium, magnesium, iron, and zinc. And that's why, for instance, so many people develop iron deficiency anemia. That's poorly responsive to iron supplementation, iron injections. Some people even have to get blood transfusions. But that iron deficiency anemia goes away within 2 weeks of stopping all grains. And so modern strains of wheat have also been enriched in phytates for their pest-resistant properties. The gliadin protein of wheat and related protein of other grains has been changed, and it's much more toxic. It's much more likely to initiate autoimmune processes like celiac disease and other autoimmune diseases. This we know with good confidence. The gliadin protein, modern strains of wheat, and it's now unique, different forms of gliadin are much more likely to cause autoimmune diseases. And modern wheat has also been enriched in allergens. Because of all the extensive changes introduced into the proteins of wheat and grains, now they have allergic potential. You can experience that as asthma, as gastrointestinal upset, as diarrhea, as skin rashes, and other effects. So that's just a partial catalog of the many changes introduced into modern wheat. So modern wheat is nothing like traditional wheat. Its toxic potential has been amplified inadvertently in the name of increasing yield per acre, but never was any question asked about its effects on humans who consume it.